I'm sorry, but I just cannot stand shy fish. Like, who wants to look at an empty aquarium where nothing is moving, right? Hi, my name is Irene with Girl Talks Fish, here with practical tips for busy fish keepers like you. And the problem with this 15-gallon aquarium is the fish seem to hide 24/7. Like, they're always playing hide and seek. So what can I do to solve this? Well, tip number one from the internet is to add more hiding spaces, like caves and rocks and plants, decorations. And supposedly the fish will feel braver to come out if they know they can just dart behind something at any corner, right? That has kind of worked in my 20-gallon high aquarium, where I have some naturally shy cardinal tetras, and I have noticed while they will flee when I pass by, I just have to wait a few seconds and they will quickly come out to the front and see what's going on, right? But for the 15-gallon cube, I used to have these really tall background plastic plants in the aquarium, and all the fish, especially the false Julii cories, they're the worst, they would hide behind them and basically stay there making giant piles of poop, and I would never see them. So I took away those background plants, and then the false Julii cories would, let's say, hide behind the sponge filter or maybe under some of these anubias in the front, which was like a little better, but didn't really solve the problem. Tip number two is to get ditherfish, or some kind of outgoing species that will basically be swimming out and about all the time. And supposedly that tells the shy fish like, hey, it's safe to come out, right? I would say the most outgoing fish I've had would be things like guppies, platies, mollies, really any kind of live bear, because they're always up in front every time I pass by begging for food, right? Just the thing I had to watch out for is because they're so extroverted and always up front, during mealtime, it was easy for them to basically gobble up all the food, and then the shy fish who stayed in the back never got a bite. So something to watch out for. The only problem is in my 15-gallon tank, the ember tetras were supposedly, I mean, they were more outgoing originally, and then once I added the false Julii cories, it's like they got infected with the cories' shyness, and then nobody came out. So it was like the opposite effect of ditherfish, which really stunk. Tip number three comes from MD Fish Tanks, where he's basically training his fish to come out during mealtime. So the trick is he basically taps the glass like this, and then he feeds them in the same spot near the front of the tank, and then he stands there and waits, and then the fish come, and then they kind of start associating the food with him, right? Supposedly. Well, this works with some of my tanks, like in the mud skipper tank, for sure, they've got it down. They know when I turn on the tank light, I open the tank, like they're all rushing up to the front, splashing water, trying to get to that food even before it drops. But for the 15-gallon aquarium, I would do that, and then I would sit on a chair, staring at the tank, waiting for what I would consider to be a pretty long time. Eventually the fish and the false Julii cories would come out, but then if I moved in the slightest, like I breathed too hard or something, they would immediately dart to the back. So it was kind of frustrating. Tip number four is don't like loom over your aquarium. I know that looks kind of weird, but you know, if you're standing and you're higher than your tank, supposedly the idea is that the shadows that you make kind of remind the fish of like a bird or the shadow of a predator that might be about to eat them, right? And so then they freak out and go away. So I have noticed that if I slowly approach the aquarium and I'm kind of below the bottom level of the tank, they don't freak out as quickly. But I don't know, who wants to look at an aquarium like this, right? Like really, really low down. It's not the most comfortable position. So that brings us to tip number five, which is, well, the common belief is that if you've got a bunch of shy fish like discus or something, maybe put them in a low traffic area where there's not a lot of people and therefore they won't be scared all the time, right? I'm gonna be controversial here and say, put your tank in a high traffic area, like exposure therapy. I feel like the more fish see people, then they kind of get used to it. And let me explain how I came to this conclusion. So I, as you can see, eventually replaced the false Julii cories with albino cories because I've kept them before. They've always been super fun and derpy. I saw them at the fish store, very active. I took them home in the quarantine tank, in my high traffic kitchen, very, very active, never, ever scared. But then when I put them in the 15-gallon tank, all of a sudden they're hiding. They're being shy again. They're acting just like the false Julii cories. What's going on? Well, where is this tank located? It used to be in the kids' bathroom between the Jack and Jill sinks, And, you know, people don't go to the bathroom that often. It's pretty low traffic, it's pretty dim lighting. And I feel like because they weren't seeing people a lot, they kind of over time developed shyness to any kind of movement that happened. So I made the decision to move this tank to its current location, which is in my office, and much improved. Now, you know, I'm working at my desk. The ember tetras are swimming way higher in this aquarium than I have ever seen them do before. You can see the albino cories are swimming out and about. They still don't like it if I stand up all of a sudden or if somebody quickly opens the door to come say something to me. But in general, like I said, very much improved. Like out of the 5 methods, I would say tip number 5 is probably the one that works the best for me, but I still can't get this particular fish to show up in the tank unless it's like tank cleaning time. So let me know down in the comments if you have a secret for getting shy fish to come out, because I don't have a foolproof method yet. Take time to enjoy your aquariums, and I'll see you in the next video.